7:56 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the novel coronavirus 2019 continues to baffle many in the health sector as its spread continues. In fact, we're having a second wave in some parts of Asia. Statistics continue to show that the virus is still going strong in many parts of the world. Well, Tobago-born physician and virologist Dr. Cindy Duke, originally from Argyle Village, right next to the falls, is based now in Las Vegas, the land of slot machines and taking chances. Well, she's joining us now to share her thoughts on this thing called COVID-19. Dr. Duke, thanks very much for joining us this morning. What is your sense of this virus?
Good morning, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks for having me. You know, my sense is that it's certainly one that warrants concern and worry, and I think we need to be taking it seriously. It's unfortunate, but we do not currently have a vaccine or any treatments for it, and as a result, we have to do everything that we can in terms of personal and individual responsibility to decrease spread of this highly contagious virus.
And when we put it in that sense, as a virologist, what perspective do you bring to this? Because people are asking themselves when we will get a vaccine. Are there is this a mutation of SARS or MERS or going back to Spanish flu? Is this all part of the same family? What is your sense of COVID-19?
Yes, so it is not the flu at all. So it's not any part of the influenza family. But yes, it is related to SARS and MERS in that they're all coronaviruses. And this particular strain is actually, it is a sort of mutated form of SARS. It has many characteristics similar to the SARS virus that we saw circulating back in the early 2000s. That said, it is uniquely its own virus. There are multiple strains of this virus. And so that's part of what we as virologists are looking at and following and what's being characterized currently. It's also why it will take a little bit of time to have a vaccine candidate that's effective. You know, as a virologist, I actually spent quite a few years in the laboratory working on designing vaccines for viruses. And vaccines for viruses are more challenging than a vaccine for, say, a bacterium. And that's because you can have an immune response to a virus, but not be able to clear the virus. And so in designing a vaccine for this virus, that's what is going to be the biggest challenge, is not just making a candidate, but making one that actually will be able to either prevent infection or, if not prevent, decrease the severity of the infection once it happens.
Is this going to be the new normal? Take time. Is this going to be the new normal, Dr. Duke, where we're finding ourselves in a situation where there will be different strains of similar type viruses popping up here and there? Are we now in an era where we are now more vulnerable to these things?
Yes, you know, the short answer is yes, but let me paint the picture. So the truth is pandemics do happen and will continue to happen. We've had pandemics even centuries ago. You know, the plague was actually a bacterial pandemic. Yersinia pestis was actually the cause of the plague that we've all heard about, and the Black Death. That was also an infectious disease that spread like wildfire, again, due to hygiene and all that. You know, nowadays we at least know what the cause is and we know early. Will there be other viruses? Absolutely. There will be other viruses, and it's a new normal. It's a new normal even in terms of coronavirus and COVID-19. The world is not going to go back to what it was 4 months ago. It absolutely will not. And in the immediate future, in the next year to year and a half, we do need to change what we're doing because we don't have a vaccine for this virus, which means even after the pandemic subsides, meaning even after we have containment, just like you alluded to earlier, Mr. Mohammed, you are seeing around the world that some places are having second waves, right? Which means you can still have outbreaks, and we will still have outbreaks. So even after we have some control, we still need to wash our hands. We will still need to maintain physical distance when we're out in public. And we will still need to adhere to the no congregating guidelines until we have better control of this virus. And I know it's hard to say that as a Trinbagonian because we congregate, we fete, we party, we worship, but it is a new normal, absolutely.
And just on a final point on that, it might sound alarmist to say this thing, but you've laid the groundwork, and we appreciate your perspective. Is it unreasonable to think that we need to plan ahead for at least 12 months and more as having to cope with this situation? Just as a final thought quickly from you.
Yes, I agree. And I love that you asked that because that is one of my messages that I've been telling people is you need to have a 6-month, 12-month, and 18-month plan. You know, an effective vaccine usually takes 5 to 7 years. Even if we expedited the process, which we are, multiple people are involved, multiple funding agencies, private funding, Bill Gates, for example. But it still takes at least 12 months to truly prove that a vaccine is first safe and then effective. And then once it's proven effective, then you have to actually give it to the people at highest risk. So until all of that happens, it's a minimum of 12 months before we can even have that, be at that place. So what we need as a community is to plan ahead. If you had a big event planned for 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and we know what big events we're alluding to here, we should start thinking of alternatives because it's not simply about saying that we have the best technology or this or that. This virus is here. It's highly contagious. And so far, we don't have proof yet that if you've been infected once, you cannot be infected again. Like I said, there are multiple strains as well. So even if maybe you have immunity to one strain, that doesn't mean you're necessarily immune to another strain.
Dr. Dewey, thank you very much for your expertise and your frankness with that perspective.
Hello?
And indeed, we do hope to make contact with you at another time. We've gone past our usual finishing time this morning, but we thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us this morning. So, people, let's recognize we're going into a long weekend. We recognize the challenges that we face. Follow the guidelines, please. Follow the guidelines. It is irresponsible to be out there without a mask, not just for yourself, but for others around you. As we've heard from all the medical experts, behave as if either you have it or everyone around you has it. Behave that way. And that is the only way we're going to control it. We're not going to get rid of it, as we just heard from the good doctor. We are not going to get rid of this for the foreseeable future. So please, we're going into our weekend. We'll see you next on Tuesday, God willing, from just around 6 o'clock. But please be advised, whatever our views on some of the politics, we can leave that aside. This is life and death. Behave like either you have it or the person closest to you, they have it as well. And we'll see you on Tuesday morning, God willing, at just around 6 o'clock. Take care.